Welcome back to It's Raining Cats and Dogs, you guys, and thank you very much for joining us on the 2026 part of this production. We appreciate your support graciously, and we are very appreciative of the outpouring of support that you guys have given this program. We wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for you. I'm your host, Henry Jansen, sports writer for the Kirksville Daily Express, and this evening we will be joined first by Kirksville girls head basketball coach Nick Totta, and then we will be receiving visits from Truman men's assistant coach Cory Sloan, as well as interim Truman swimming coach Doug Heighton. Firstly, Coach Totta, very nice to have you this evening.
Thank you.
Totta's team is entering to this point. By the time of this production, they will have played on Tuesday night by the time that you guys are seeing this, but entering a 9-2 portion of the season where, having had played in a lot of tournaments and festivals, they will now really get into the meat and potatoes of traveling to true away games and hosting true home games. Coach, just in general, how are you feeling about, tough loss in the Highland tournament to the host team this past weekend, but how are you and your girls feeling right now?
I think we feel pretty good about our success so far. We're a pretty young team, and I see us continuing to make strides. And obviously, we still have some because of the inexperience, we still miss some opportunities. But I think we're gaining that experience. And anytime you're talking about basketball season, you want to be playing your best basketball come into February, early March. And so we're trying to keep that in mind. And we talk about just stacking days, and we feel like we're putting one day with the next and with the next, and hopefully that's what we'll be doing when we come to the end of February, early March.
Back to the beginning of the year a little bit and the progress that you've made. The first time I spoke with you was your home opener was against that very same Highland team, and so your only 2 losses of the season are to the same team. At that point in time, you were very confident that this team would find the right direction. Is 9 consecutive wins quite what you expected at that point?
I don't know. I honestly can't say that I expected us to rattle off that amount of wins, but I just saw signs that, the girls were buying in. They were sharing the basketball. They were playing hard. So when you put those ingredients together, it gives you, a positive outlook. And I thought there was certainly an opportunity for us to come out and be competitive, and that's what we've done.
Talk about that youth a little bit. What goes into, obviously there are going to be growing pains for any team that is quite as young as you are, and even going outside of just Eva Danielson and Bryn Shahan and Macy Lehman. There are a lot of girls that you're kind of seeing grow up as basketball players before your eyes. How has that trajectory kind of been compared to what you expected?
Well, when you're dealing with youth, you're never quite sure how that's going to go. I felt at times we've made bigger strides than others. I thought the other night in the championship game, our youth, more so our inexperience, hurt us a little bit. And I told you that some of those girls, that while they're young in class, as far as class is concerned, age, they played so much basketball, so they're not as inexperienced as a true freshman or true sophomore would be. As you said, we got a couple other sophomores that come off the bench, a freshman that comes off the bench. I think we're making the strides that kind of anticipated, and but you also anticipated there'd be some bumps in the road, and there has been, but it's going pretty well.
Talk to me about that stretch of 4 games. You guys are holding teams to, you're preventing everybody from scoring until the Keokuk game that you guys won in the Highland tournament semifinal, 58-53, which from an outsider's perspective is you guys needed a game like that to get up there, both teams in the mid to high 50s. But before that, you held teams to 26 or fewer points, and 4 consecutive games. Defensive philosophy and things like that. What goes into those performances?
Well, I think you got to credit the girls because you can talk all you want about how you want to play defensively, but they've got to go out and execute it. And so we've just tried to be we're half court man to man defense, but we really want to cause people. We want to pressure them and pressure passing lanes and contain the basketball, but make it difficult to reverse and take the ball side to side. I think when you do that and you're containing, you don't have as much defensive rotations, and that's where you can really get in trouble on the defensive side of the basketball. And so our girls have been really good about closing out, keeping people in front, and they've made it hard to reverse. And so those things have been very beneficial, and the hard work they put in has shown its success in some of the defensive efforts we put forth.
Talk about your 4 seniors a little bit, especially the 3 that have been here all along: Faith Weiss, Maya Harris, Claire Brewer, and of course Reagan Wortley. But talk about how they have seen this program kind of evolve to a conference title last year, how far they've come, and how much kind of leadership they're able to give.
Well, I think the biggest thing that they do is they show up every day, and they're there, and when I say show up, they're not just come in and go through the motions. They compete every day in practice, and and some of them, their role isn't maybe exactly what they'd like it to be, but if they still come and compete and lead that way, that has a big effect on the younger kids. And so they've been really good in that regard. And Claire's had some some health issues, some injuries, and that's prevented her from she really didn't get started practicing until after the season had started. So she's kind of behind in that regard. Reagan is just new to the program, and so she's continuing to learn. And so it's there's a natural learning curve there, and she's trying to figure things out that way. And Maya's just she's solid, she's steady, consistent all the time, and Faith has been doing a nice job starting for us at the 5 and really giving us good minutes. And Faith is very consistent, and probably her strength is more times than not, and really a lot more times than not, she's going to be doing the right thing and in the right place, and that's really good for the young kids.
One thing that I think anybody watching a Kirksville game would notice is this is a group that would be very coachable. A very easy group of girls to give them instructions that they follow. It seems like most times on the same page in a lot of regards, I guess is what I'm trying to say. What would you say from a coaching perspective?
Sure. They are very much so. I think it's a pretty tight group. We have a lot of fun together. And they work at it. I mean, they include each other. We do a lot of team building activities to kind of create this culture, and the girls have been really receptive and open to all the things that we've asked them to do. And when you put those kind of ingredients together, you get a pretty good mixture, and it is a lot of fun. There's a lot of buy-in, a lot of belief in what we're doing. I've had teams where you have a little bit of pushback, and that makes it more difficult, and that has not been the case here at all.
I think that I would give a great deal of credit to both of your assistant coaches. I think that Ellie Weltha and Sydney Snyder have done a really good job of just kind of whatever might be needed, or whatever these girls might need, as well as having, true knowledge of what they're talking about. Talk a little bit about your assistants and what kind of role they perform.
Well, yeah, they, Ellie, having played the game at a high level, brings a unique perspective as a player, but also as a coach. And she's very good at relating, and she has a way to be direct but easy to understand, um, easy to agree with. She just has a good connection with kids, and Sydney really has a good connection, and she coaches a lot of them in softball, so that
Right.
carries over. And I think she probably enjoys a little bit of the fact that when you're the head coach, you take a little different role than you take as an assistant. Now she gets to be the assistant and have a little different perspective and a little different relationship, and she does that really well, and I think she really enjoys it.
Talk a little bit about your week. By the time that this airs, which will be Monday afternoon, this game will have already taken place. But a Palmyra team that's been struggling a little bit, they come in 1-9 to Tiger Gym tomorrow evening, which, as we sit here now, is Tuesday evening, and then you're back into conference play at Hannibal to end the week. What are you thinking? What have you scouted for both of these teams, and what are your expectations and hopes?
Well, obviously, you hope you can go and have success and come away with some victories, but you know every every game is a challenge, and I uh, I look forward tomorrow night versus Palmyra, just seeing how we respond after having you know after winning 9 straight, having a loss, and
Tough one.
and how do we respond for that? So um, that'll be the first thing, and then going to Hannibal will be a good challenge, road challenge. They always play well at their place, and it's a conference game, and we're off to a good start with conference. But our goal as a program is first to win our conference, and then win district, and then go from there. And so we put ourselves in a good position with a 2-0 start in the league. Hopefully, we can continue that on Friday.
Does it change the conversations that these girls have in the locker room or in practice, knowing that who knows if they're ever going to go to, like Hannibal, for example, who knows if they're ever going to travel to Hannibal for a conference game again? Only the future can tell in that regard.
That's a good question. We really haven't talked about that too much. I think it once it came up that it'd be nice to win the league the last time it's together, but to be honest with you, we're not really focused too much on that. We're just focused on trying to win it, and I guess we'll probably think about that after it's all come and gone.
And it's gonna be a strange dynamic. Like I was speaking with you about a little bit earlier, is I think for scheduling purposes, Highland, for the listeners, is a team that you lost to. Your only 2 losses by 11 both times, 43-32 to begin the year, and 55-44 in the tournament championship at their place. Just other schools that you potentially keep in mind as a coach, that you kicked around as schools that we need to have on the schedule in the future?
Well, I would anticipate that some of our current conference schools will be in the same boat as us, that they'll be looking for games. So I think we will continue to play those people, but it just won't be a conference game, which seems a little different, but I'm sure we'll get used to it if that happens for a few years. But I think those people, I think we're going to have to, probably travel a little bit more and try to find some games, try to find some new opponents. We've gone out to Kansas City and played in the 12 courts at Christmas. I know there's a tournament also in St. Joe at that time. There's also the tournament at North Central Missouri Junior College. So we may try to get in that, but that's where Sarah Williams gets paid the big bucks, right? She handles all that, so it'll be interesting to see who we do end up playing.
Well, right now, of course, your focus on beating the next opponent up and hopefully winning a conference title. On a day-to-day basis in practice, what are some specific areas of improvement that you've been hitting on?
Well, I think we try to work almost every day on rebounding. We're not when you look at us on the floor, we're not the biggest team, so we've got to do a good job of boxing out and really going after the basketball. I think defensive transition is really important, so we spend time working on defensive transition, and then just the overall execution offensively. on continuing to. There's some different options or some more options that we can get to offensively, and we've got to make sure that we're where we need to be with the current options, and then can we continue to expand and show new looks to our opponents.
How do you, before I let you go, Coach? How do you like your chances in the NCMC moving forward?
Well, uh, I that's a tough question.
Maybe a little bit of a loaded one.
Yeah. How you answer that. Look, I think we have every opportunity to do that, but and some people might say that we're the favorite to do that, but look, you got to take every. I know it's a cliche, but you've got to come ready to play every game. And we had a game against Marshall, and they had been struggling a little bit, and we didn't go there and shoot the ball really well. And it's a good thing that we played well defensively because that allowed us to escape. But you just never know. But it's our goal to win it, but we'll just have to see what happens.
Very good. Kirksville girls head basketball coach Nick Totta, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Appreciate having me here.
Joined now by Truman interim swim coach Doug Heighton. Doug, how you doing this evening?
Good. Nice to
Very nice to meet you. Very nice to have you on the program, and welcome. We appreciate it. The Dogs, coming off of their senior day meet at the Truman Natatorium on Saturday. The women tied. The men, unfortunately, lost that afternoon to William Jewell. Talk a little bit about senior day festivities as well as the meet itself.
Yeah, so definitely it was a really exciting meet. So like I said, speaking on the women's side tied, definitely it came down to every single point, and I guess we just traded enough kind of their odd events were our even events, so we kind of just canceled each other out. Definitely a tie when it comes down to every individual person. Every spot is a point. It's pretty crazy to think that it comes down to a tie, but on the men's side, definitely that's one area that we're trying to grow as a program. But the really unique thing was especially on like talking about one of our sophomores this year. He broke this is his third time breaking the 100 backstroke record. So not only did he break it like the first time, but at this meet at home, he broke the record for the third time this year. So definitely we have a lot of things to be proud about, especially going into that meet. But really what was unique about that meet was we got to honor all of our seniors. So we had, I believe, we should have 5 men and I believe 4 women that we honored. So we did our what we call like passing of the rose. So we got to hand out roses to all the seniors, and it was just really one of those moments of like history and tradition. I think the biggest thing looking at Truman is thinking about honoring the past and focusing on the present. So looking into just honoring our seniors, it was really cool and kind of just like hits you, and I'm sure it hits them as well, that like that is their last pretty much big home meet. And currently William Jewell has been our big rival team. So it was just really cool to have that meet, and especially being able to hold them off and be able to keep, I'll take a tie any day. So like, especially like we talked about being an interim coach. So this is my 3rd year coaching. So 2nd year actually like in a full-time position. So with 2 years of experience, I'll take definitely a tie. That was really cool to just see, all the pieces fall into place, and the girls gave their heart out there. Our distance girls, I mean, just blew away the competition. So really it was just so cool seeing Chloe Myers and her 100 breaths was really cool to watch. She just gets in the water, she knows exactly what to do, and then she finishes first. Like I told her, I was like, your points matter, and she just like got up there, went and did it, and then She knew exactly what she was doing and finished first. So like being able to have such a amazing girls team and also amazing guys team, just be able to get in the pool and just be able to get those results is just really awesome. So
It seemed like there was a lot of energy in the natatorium. It seemed like all of these men and women were kind of enjoying the moment of that senior day experience, and it was kind of palpable. I guess for you as a coach, knowing that these are some of your athletes that are going to go on and do amazing things in life outside of the pool, how does that kind of hit you a little bit?
I think the biggest thing is I like to tell people, and usually I like say it for like our senior speeches and stuff, but to me, I feel like swimming relates more than just the athletic ability of an athlete. I think that you have to be disciplined to be in the pool. You can't just like this isn't just something you say, hey, I'm going to go out and do it. You really have to come to the pool with the idea of like, I may not enjoy every single moment of it, but I'm really going to get up and work and put in the effort. I mean, we start practices as 5:45 in the morning. So like I'm telling all my kids, I'm like, hey, you got to get in. I don't care that the pool is cold. You got to get to work. And so really just like they all know like what it takes to be successful and how that relates to going into their jobs and careers is, when you have the normal population that's kind of like hasn't yet gone through the ability of tough situations, like really our sport really teaches like because these kids are not only are they doing a sport, but I'm also telling them like you can't breathe all the time, right? You have to like be focused. So we're the one sport where really it's just focused on mental toughness, and a lot of that translate when they go in the workforce and they have heart problems that they need to face, really gives them that edge on other competition of being like, I can do this, I can face these tasks that are coming before me. And I think that we're really building discipline for the workforce, which is why I really try to work hard and teach them those life skills that they can just move forward and really start to be a part of the bigger picture.
And one thing, Coach, that I would be remiss not to mention is although this past Saturday you guys did celebrate your seniors for senior day, Truman will appear one more time at home versus Rockhurst at Truman Natatorium, and that is on January 16th. Then you guys finish the regular season slate. The men do, at least. The women do not travel to SNT. Over the course of between now and just the GLVC Championships, what are you looking ahead to? What are you looking forward to?
So I think there's a lot that I'm looking forward to. So definitely with Rockhurst. So my favorite thing to say about Rockhurst is I get to verse the other Coach Doug. So Rockhurst is coached also by Coach Doug. Fun fact is that me and Coach Doug actually worked the Texas, University of Austin, Texas swim camp over the summer. So Coach Doug and I are very well acquainted, but it's just really cool to, I always joke like, last year, actually I know I like to go different places, but last year with Quincy, the assistant coach for Quincy, when I was an assistant at Truman, was actually my past teammate that I swam with in college. So we were sitting on the other side of the pool. So then Rockhurst, like I said, on the 16th. So on Friday, it's really Coach Doug staring at Coach Doug on the other side of the pool with both of our teams side by side, really just trying to battle it out. And really, I'm just excited to see like what our men can throw down and especially what our women can throw down. So we do, so our last meet with William Jewell was short format, which just means it's like kind of 100ths of stroke. And now we're moving into long format. So we're looking at more 200s of stroke, which will still cover our normal distance events. But, really, especially with, SMT coming up, the biggest thing is like we're just trying to like prepare our men. So for focusing on our men, just trying to make sure they have all the necessary skills that they need and get that last reel. Like, can I get up and can I race, and kind of giving them like this is what it's going to look like because all these teams are going to be at conference. So really we're trying to see where we're at. And then with the women also, trying to see point wise, okay, where are we going to place at conference? So last year we did really well. So it's just kind of exciting to see like, hey, where are we going to place with our whole women's team? But definitely, like I said, I'm really excited to see, our women hit their best times, and our men's team, maybe even hit a few B cuts. Like I said, our one backstroker, Jacob Wolf. I mean, he has the 100 and 200 back record that he broke, so we're hoping maybe he can get a B cut. And like I said, he keeps working on that goal to get to nationals. We also have Dennis as well. Dennis is one of our newest 50 freestyler. He really fast in the water, so trying to see if he can go low 21s or even a 20. So we're trying to see if we can eventually break that 50 record as well on our team. So there's really a whole lot of exciting things as we get closer to conference, is just seeing our results of our team. So
what in general on both sides, on both the men's and women's side, what does the GLVC look like in terms of level of competition compared to, say Wolf does advance to nationals? I mean, is he going to be seeing a similar level of competition to what he would see at a national level where the GLVC stands right now?
Yeah, so one of the big reasons I like coaching is like the GLVC is in terms of swimming, one of the fastest conferences in the United States for D2 swimming on the men's side. So like a lot of the times, and that's where I talk to you about like looking at our men's results. I mean, if you were to put our men in any other like conference, you really could see them placing second or even first, but as we go into the GLVC, our men are giving it their 100%, but we're facing like teams like Drury, who are number one. Like last year, they won the men's national title. So like you talk about taking our men's team, you have UIndy in there, Missouri S&T. So you have the top 5 to 10 schools in national teams at the GLVC. So really, the biggest thing is preparing our men to say like, hey, and the other part of it too is like being excited for them, like saying, hey, like for some of our athletes, I know you didn't come back, but just so you know, if you were in any other conference, you would have won the event. And it's just the biggest thing too is like we're swimming against the best of the best, and I think that's the biggest thing I'm excited for. And Jacob as well, like he knows going into his races that like this is what he's been waiting for, is the shot to be able to swim against these top teams. I think in his mind, he's ready to take on the B final and see where he places. And like I said, throw down some really crazy times and probably break the record a 4th time, which would be really crazy. For a record broken 4 times in 1 year that's pretty crazy. So
For you as a coach, that's kind of the stuff of dreams.
yeah, it is. He's so much fun to have. So love having.
Before I let you go, Coach, talk to me a little bit about the interim tag and everything that comes along with that, and kind of what your aspirations are moving forward, not just for you personally, but also for both programs, both the men's and the women's program, as you take all those things into consideration while still trying to finish out a season with results.
Yes. So I think this season, like I said, kind of like with our head coach deciding to move on and look for other positions, moving into the role of interim coach, especially. So number one, I do feel that I was prepared to step into this role. I know that a lot of people in this situation definitely would have panicked and felt like that it would have been a lot of baggage to carry in terms of just quickly going from the assistant role into the head coaching role. But luckily, the biggest thing for me was before I came to Truman, I was at Kenyon College, where I coached the D3 women's national champions. So it was really a big deal. And part of what Truman kind of like what I saw in Truman was I saw kind of a smaller glimpse of like the history of what Kenyon had. And Kenyon, like when I was at Kenyon, women just won their 25th national title. So it was really cool to come to Truman because I knew about, they were 7-time women national champions in the history of the school. And coming in, I just felt like, oh, I get to be a part now and actually like coach this legacy team, this team that people have heard of and people know so much about. And it really was everything that I dreamed about when I got here, especially last year. Emily finished 7th in the 200 free. And watching, I remember I didn't get to go in person, unfortunately, to nationals, but I got to see her and really see her finish on the podium on the TV. I remember yelling at the TV when I was watching her on the GLVC, not GLVC, but the national video. And it just was so much fun. And to watch Meg, our top distance swimmer, be able to get like top 12 in the mile. So like those memories stick with you, and it's like so cool to finally be like, you go. So I was a volunteer assistant when I was at Kenyon, and then Truman was my first assistant role. So it was really cool to kind of be like, I went from that volunteer assistant having that national experience to finally being able to coach my own national swimmers. And like I said, just be able to see them grow. And especially Meg, our distance swimmer from last year, she's been coming back to help as a GA. So we had another girl, Sydney, as well. She also helps. They've both been helping me in this interim role, just kind of like push forward. But as we kind of like look forward, the biggest thing for me is I'm really heavily invested in, what Truman stands for. And I think the biggest thing is I kind of took that realization, like it was a really good experience being a head coach, but I kind of realized that it's been really quick of a ride to go from a volunteer assistant to a head coach in 3 years. That was very quick for me, and there's still a lot more that I want to learn. So for me, I have decided that I want to step back into the assistant role and still kind of like gauge my learning and experience, and still would love to, like I said, continue to be part of the Bulldog traditions and be able to help a new head coach come in and really just kind of guide. But also at the same time, I was doing my master's. So I was head coaching a team, doing my master's here at Truman, and also trying to balance, work and school life. And I just realized that it's just a lot. It can be a lot if like you're not really like set on that's exactly what you're ready for. So, but for me, my biggest thing is talking with my mentors, bringing in a new head coach could really lift this program to be even greater. And that's also why I've decided is that I feel bringing somebody in with a little bit more experience could make this program even better. And then I can also be the assistant to help it along the way. So definitely there's a lot of things I'm excited for, but definitely I'm excited to see if we can rebuild this program to be, have its national debut again. Like I said, definitely. So we had 2 girls go to nationals last year and they managed to get top 20. Truman placed 20th at nationals with only 2 people. So like, it just makes me think it's like, just try and keep going up the ladder as best as we can. And definitely it's been really fun, like, because a lot of my past coaches have also been helping me with recruitment. Like I brought in, we have currently 2 international kids on our team. So we have Jemiah and we also have Luca. Jemiah's from Trinidad Tobago. Probably pronounced it wrong, and then Luca's from Germany, but recruited her out of a really good school. Club team was the same club team that the fastest sprinter in the Olympics, Caleb Dressel, swam for.
Really?
Her club program. So to be able to, the biggest thing was for me to be able to go on training trip and be able to bring back Luca to come help our program has been a really big deal for me, because that shows that we're pushing Truman into, the future of what it can be. So definitely that's the other big thing is like, I've learned that being a head coach and trying to make practices, do all the, nitty gritty stuff, it makes it harder to recruit. And I think I definitely love sitting back and being able to work more on that recruitment component. But definitely, like I said, I am trying to set Truman up to be successful moving forward. And also so that we can have more people go to nationals, because I really like being on the back burner of using what I had from my past national experience to be able to push these kids, to send more kids to nationals. And I think that we're on that path, but it took a big step for me to step back and be like, okay, like I could just sit in this role, or I could be an assistant and actually be able to guide in other ways. So that's kind of where I went with that. But yeah.
Coach Doug Heighton, interim swimming coach, Truman State University, the right man for the job at the right time. Thanks for joining the show. Joined now by Truman State University men's assistant basketball coach, Cory Sloan. Cory, welcome to the show.
How you doing?
Doing well. Very nice to have you. Though the Dogs sit at 6-9 right now, you guys are coming off of one of the most exciting victories of the season thus far, knocking off the conference leader in UIS on Saturday afternoon during Hall of Fame Day. Talk about just where you and the team are feeling after what could be a flip of the switch kind of victory.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just kind of like can't get complacent. Just have to have the same attitude that we had going into that game throughout, knocked off the number one, and now we're about to have the new number one this weekend on Saturday, and then we got Lewis on Thursday. So it's just making sure that, pay more attention to details and we're not kind of getting too full of ourselves. Again, it's just one way. That's all.
That UIS game was a 66-65 victory, knocking UIS to 10-5, but 6-1 in the conference. Just wanted to get that out of the way a little bit first, because you guys have to be, you got to turn the page, and the next game's a new day. But that's a pretty good one for you guys.
It was a good Saturday.
It was a good Saturday.
Now we're back to Monday, so it is what it is. It's kind of how the season goes. Just got to flip the page and on to the next one.
Go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit to the listenership and viewership. 7 total years at Clinton College in South Carolina. Is that correct?
No, I was there for 4 years.
4 years.
4 years at Clinton. And then before that, I was a high school assistant coach for 5 years. And then one of the years that I was a high school assistant coach, I also worked with Winthrop. So I was at Winthrop for 3 years. Graduated there 2017. Was basically a student manager first 2 years, and then the third year there I was kind of head manager, but then I was also the assistant video coordinator, because we kind of hired a new video coordinator, and the video coordinator didn't know how to do video. So I was basically the one training him how to do video and kind of helping him with everything, because that was kind of what I was pretty good at. So yeah, I did that for 3 years. And then the fourth year I was going to do both as well, but guess compliance found out that I was doing high school coaching and college coaching at the same time. So they were like, got to pick one. You can't do both. It's like a recruiting thing. So I already got the experience doing the college for 3 years. So I was like, I'll get the experience doing high school and see how that goes.
And recruiting wrinkles, man, they're everywhere. I mean, even in the day and age of the transfer portal and NIL being as wide open as they are, they're still.
Yeah. And it was if it had been middle school, probably been fine. But high school, it was ninth graders. So they still kind of, since we could recruit them, they kind of looked friendly upon that. So, is what it is, but learned a lot from it, got different experience. That was kind of my main focus, was just getting different experience in different areas. So,
as far as your time, we'll talk a little bit fully about your basketball journey, just however you want to describe it. But one thing that I really want to highlight is some special moments for you during your time at Clinton College. One thing that kind of just jumped off the page to me is you guys had a season where you averaged 106 points per game.
Yeah.
And that is astronomical, of course. Appeared in a national championship game at the NJCAA level. Just all of those things at the collegiate level, just the things that kind of equipped you, even though we're talking about an NJCAA school, all the things that kind of equipped you to be in this position and learn from the things that come along with the NCAA Division II level.
Yeah. So first off, it's because it's a little confusing. It's weird. They're in CCAA. So in NCJAA is more like JUCO. It's like 2 year. Ours was 4 year, super small college. The way I kind of related to people is it's the Christian version of the NAI, just super, super small schools. But yeah, I mean, I will be honest, other than the last year I had, we averaged over 100 every year. That's just the tempo that we kind of played at and the kind of style that we ran. But yeah, I mean, you want me to just kind of start on that whole thing, kind of how that,
yeah, sure.
Basically was coaching high school.
Your quest in general.
Yeah. I mean, I was coaching high school and, we went and we had a pretty good 2-3 years runs. We started off, it was a football school. That's all they really care about. So we kind of, built up this big program. And then between COVID and my head coach just got really tired of just dealing with the high school wrinkles that come with it, the parents, just the politics. I'll just kind of like leave it at that. So he decided he was going to step down. And I think at the time I was 24. And he was like, it was me and this other assistant coach. And he was like, look, I don't want to tell anyone that like, this is who I think I'm going to get it, that this is who I think deserves a job. Like, I'm just going to kind of leave it open-ended. Long story short, neither of us ended up getting it. And they basically told me, like, I was just, the athletic director was like, listen, don't even bother putting your application in. Like, you're just too young. Like, you're not going to get, like, even a look at it. So I was like, all right, fair enough. And then he was like, well, maybe the new coach, like, he'll let you, like, stay on staff. And, like, in the basketball world, usually new coach, new staff. So I was like, all right, I'll just go ahead and start, like, looking for other stuff, like, in my head. And then my buddy called me one day, like, maybe, like, 2 or 3 weeks after. And, I'd helped him previously with like another spot. And he was like, hey, like I just got the job at Clinton. Like, cause he thought I was still doing high school. He's like, can you plug me in with like some high school coaches and just like this area who's good, who should I recruit and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, I can, but I'm not coaching at high school anymore. He's like, really? I was like, well, I was looking for an assistant coach. So I was like, all right. So did that, was assistant coach with him for that first year. And then kind of throughout the year, as the year went, he ended up making me associate head coach. We did pretty well. We won our conference that year. We actually had to recruit 2 different teams, but we had like 5 guys get kicked off in the first semester. So then we had to recruit a whole new team for the second semester. So we had like 2 recruiting classes for the whole year. It's weird, small college basketball, stuff like that happens. So then, we're going through recruiting. We got our next year. We're like, yeah, let's ride. It's our first year in the NCCAA, because originally we're in the USCAA, which is like the smallest level of like 4-year basketball that like exists. And so then we were like, all right, well, it's our first year in the NCCA. We got our recruiting class together. And then like, I know that he had been talking about leaving like originally. But September comes along and he calls me and he's like, hey, can you come meet up with me real quick? And I go, and he's like, hey, by the way, like I took this job at this other school like 3 weeks ago, but I wanted to wait long enough to where they couldn't find somebody else. And so they'll just make you interim for like at least a year. And he basically was like, you got 1 year. Like, do with it what you can. And so I was like, all right, like, at least I got an opportunity. So when we went to the national championship that year, we went on like an 18-game win streak. Ended up losing conference championship game, got a down tech at the very end of the game, lost by 2. And then we went to the national championship game, lost by 5, kind of like a turnover with like 30 seconds left. So lost a conference championship game and lost a national championship game in the same year. And they were like, well, I guess we got to keep this guy who went to national championship the first year. And I was 25 at the time. I was like the youngest 4-year head coach in the country, basically. So went, and then the next year we ended up winning conference. But big guy catches the flu in nationals, win the first round, lose the final 4 game actually to Cedarville, because some of the Division II schools actually they're dual. Like some of the Christian D2 schools, they're dual NCCA and Division II, and they treat the NCCA like a tournament like the NIT, basically. Like if they don't make their Division II tournament, they'll go play in the NCCAA. So like the NCAA tournament was just straight D2s, and it would just be like our small school of like 200 kids that were playing just D2s with quadruple, sometimes 5x the budget that we have. So we played our best. I think we ended up losing that game by like 6. They ended up having 2 D1 transfers on their team that went to play at D1s that year. So, and then the next year, we just it was a rough year. We just kind of fell apart in different areas, had guys hurt, guys ineligible, just a bunch of nonsense. And then I ended up stepping away just for, behind the scenes stuff that happening. I just wasn't agreeing with some things. I felt like people were trying to push me out. So I ended up stepping away, and then just started looking at applying for a bunch of places. And now I'm here. So.
Right. Cedarville, Iowa was who you guys fell to.
Yeah, in the Final Four. And so it was funny. I called a bunch of my players because they were the ones that we ended up playing. And it was actually technically my first Division II win as an assistant coach was the team that ended up beating us in that Final Four. So that was I texted the guys and I was like, hey, I got him back for us, so don't worry. So it's just funny how that stuff goes around.
So kind of what we were talking about. Firstly, before we get into talking about exactly what kind of role you play on head coach Mike Worley's staff, just kind of how you fell here, the Louisville connections and potentially some Sun Belt connections, just people who had, people who knew what your name was, and how did all those things kind of work out for you and Worley to end up linking up?
So applied through a bunch. I think when I ended up looking at I kept like a log of like all the places I applied to. I think I ended up applying to like 96 places or something like that. Just like the way that it kind of works in our industry. I come to find out later how it kind of happened, but I applied. My girlfriend was like on top of things. Like she was finding like job applications from sites that like were like the second they were posted out. So a couple places, like I was probably like one of the first 5 people like actually applied to it. So she found this one actually for me, and I applied instantly. And then maybe like 2 weeks later, Coach Worley called me. We just had a really good conversation. We talked for a little bit, and then he was just like, "All right, I'll call you at some point next week." Well, all right, and that went on for about 7 weeks, where we basically just like talked on the phone for like 5 to 10 minutes at a time, 2 or 3 times a week, and then it would just, all right, next conversation. And like the conversation would progress, but like it was funny because one week he would call me and he would just ask like hypothetical, like, oh, well, if this happened or that happened, like if we had to do this in practice, like, well, what would you do? And I would answer it. He'd be like, all right, it's good talking with you. Hope your day's good. I'll hit you up like at some point. And then like that would be like the whole phone call. And then like the next week he would then call. We were just talking about like something different. So it just kind of like progressed, and come to find out about it, like he told me the other day, he would be laughing and he would look at his wife. He'd be like, watch this. This guy picks up the phone like instantly. And then I guess he would call me, and then I would instantly pick up the phone, and he would be like, I told you he was going to answer the phone. And then he would just sit there and like kind of talk to me. And, we just kind of went back and forth. And I guess like our, coaching philosophies and our, like what I brought kind of met with what he was looking for. And it kind of went from there. Come to find out that I guess his wife was helping him because he had all kind of other stuff to do with it. He kind of told her his criteria for like what he was looking for. And she found a couple people, and I was one of those people that like she found like through the criteria of like exactly like what he was looking for. So, and then through it, obviously as coaches, you got to dot your I's and cross your T's. So he's checking through, my network. He's asking me, hey, where were you at? Who do you know? Yada, yada, yada. So I went through, I was with Pat Kelsey, who is now the head coach at Louisville. It was him, Mike, Coach Prosser, who is now the head coach at Winthrop now. And then Tony Rack, who's the associate head coach at Winthrop. And then I was also there with Mike Howland, who is the associate head coach at Charleston Southern. And Brian Cloman as well, who followed Kelsey to Louisville. He's really the only coach that kind of went from that group of guys and went over to Louisville. Because Kelsey went from Winthrop to then College of Charleston, and then he was at College of Charleston for, I believe, 3 years, and he went from College of Charleston to Louisville. So he had like coach knew Cloman, so I guess he kind of talked to Cloman a little bit. But then the main one was Howland, because Howland was our director of basketball operations, and like in the basketball world, the director of basketball operations at like high D1s is basically like the manager's boss. Like he's the one that oversees like all the managers and stuff like that. So I was dealing with him like on the daily. And so he called Howland, and Howland kind of just gave him like, I guess, his opinion of me, and it was a good opinion, I guess. So that's kind of where those connections like kind of come from. Tony Rack was at North Kentucky, where he played at, and he was there, and then he kind of came back to be with Prosser. So it's just kind of, in the basketball world, and I'm, in most job fields, but in the basketball world, it's not only like how you do what you do, but it's also who you know, because no one's just going to like hire someone just based off like what they do. They got to have some kind of like feel for what the person is. So that's kind of where those connections, I guess, kind of filled into.
The Louisville thing that Worley had mentioned was just an interesting comment to me, just because it could be anybody. Like basically since Patino left, like it's just been a constant revolving door in that regard. But that's pretty cool. What about
Kelsey's? He's a different animal, but I was looking at it, and he's been a college basketball head coach for 12 years, right? And he has been to the conference championship game of his whatever conference he's been into 10 of the 12 years. So Louisville's in great hands with him. But yeah, that's kind of where that Louisville connection kind of came from.
No, that's just I think that's a really fun tidbit. I think that people enjoy finding out about that, and enjoy hearing kind of your background a little bit. A lot of people at games are just who's this guy, and just kind of having that background, you know what I'm saying, goes a long way for a lot of people in the community. What about your playing days? Where did that take you? Where'd you start out?
I want to say 4th grade or 5th grade. My dad what we were just try sports out and stuff like that. My dad got me playing basketball, and I really enjoyed it. Played in middle school, played like travel ball and stuff like that. Played in high school for 3 years, and then summer going into my senior year, AAU, went up for a layup, kind of got clipped, came down, fell on my shoulder, popped my shoulder out like in the middle of the game, and then like on the court, popped my shoulder back in. And my dad was coaching the time. He was like, "Come out, like, were you good?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Like, I don't know, like, what are you talking about?" He's like, "You just like popped your shoulder in and out like it was nothing on the court. Like usually like people won't do that." And I didn't even realize it. So then we ended up going to see a specialist, and I was like, I don't know. It was like, I don't even remember what exactly I don't want to call it disease, but like whatever the condition is. I'm like 0.000 whatever % of people. I was born without a muscle in my right rotator cuff, so I can just dislocate my shoulder whenever I want. So it started like when I found it, it was weird. Like I never realized it, but once it's like one of those things where once you realize it, you like can't unrealize it. So then the shoulder would be super sore. I couldn't do anything, and like it just kind of like started to like feel pain, and I was like, all right, this is annoying. So I went. The doctor was like, well, you can do physical therapy, or you can get shoulder replacement surgery. Or even shoulder replacement surgery was like 18 months recovery. So I was like, I'm not going into college like with a new shoulder. So I just decided, I'm just going to stop playing. And then one of the guys on my team was getting recruited by Coach Prosser, and then my dad's friend knew Coach Prosser as well. So he kind of introduced me, and I told him, I was like, I still want to stay in basketball. I'm just not going to play. And he's like, well, come be a manager. I went through it. So I ended up doing that. And that's kind of where that journey takes. It's like one little thing always, like, you never know how your path is just going to kind of wind and twist. So it's funny looking back at like, things that you think are like, oh, like, like setbacks or, bad things. They just kind of clear the path for where I'm at now, I guess.
It works itself into place a little bit.
Exactly.
Defensive and offensive philosophies, just basketball-wise in general. I mean, I would say that you could make a case that gives you a different perspective, too. Having witnessed and coached a lot more high-level basketball than having played it. I guess just from a philosophy standpoint, where do you stand? Like, if Worley's going to come to you and ask what to do with Scheme X, what is Scheme X going to be?
Yeah, so I will say the one thing that Coach Worley and I definitely are like at odds at, and he always like makes funny comments about it all the time. I'm definitely slowly getting there, but like I was always an offensive guy. Like with Kelsey, like I just saw how like, we were always super fast at pace. We just were like, we always said like good defense will beat good offense, but great offense will always beat great defense. So I kind of translated that fast pace to like where I was at Clinton, and then I saw it working. Like Coach Worley's like the complete opposite. At Troy, they were like just the number one defensive team in the Sun Belt. Like they were like a full defensive team. And like, I mean, it's not to say that we didn't focus on defense at like Winthrop and Clinton, but like it was not the same. Like it was not the emphasis was not the defense. The emphasis was the offense and the flow of offense and stuff like that. But I mean, one of my philosophies, through my time is like, and people have heard before, like it's all about the guys that you have. It's not about like, what you do. Your schemes and your draw ups and all that, they only get you so far. There's like a whole quote about it, but it's the Jimmies and the Joes, not the X's and the O's. Like, so that's kind of like my philosophy on when it comes to players. Offense, I like just as many. The thing is, the game is a possession based game. I mean, if you can get more possessions than the other team, you automatically already have a better chance at winning. So playing as fast as possible to stack your possessions, getting as many offensive rebounds, forcing turnovers and limiting offensive rebounds. Like those are, the special teams of basketball. And then, just getting a stop here and there. But, now we're full defensive, have to get defensive. And like for anyone that's been following us throughout the year, like that Springfield game on Sunday, that was like our best defensive game that we've had all year. Like I do the PPP, which is like points per possession on the defensive side. And that was like one of our best PPPs that we've had, especially it was like one of the best I think it was actually the best first half of PPP that we've had like the whole entire year. So just trying to figure out as best I can what to do.
Talking about things like that, figures like that just the common observer might not know, like PPPs, like you mentioned, for example. Where are you guys at with analytics, number crunching, stuff like that? So Coach A staff.
I've definitely like Connor and I are very, very analytic. Coach likes analytics, but he's not like as analytically driven as we are. Like I think the more numbers you can have, the better, especially with defensive stuff. Cause like basketball is a game where you can see what's going on, but the numbers will never lie. Some people will try to contort the numbers to like paint the picture that they want to paint, but like if you're looking for a specific thing, the numbers never lie. So like a PBP for us is a really big thing, because obviously like the lower points, and for those listening that don't know what that is, that's just point per possession. So like, you know, usually in a college basketball game, there's anywhere from 60 to 75 possessions in the game, and if you can stay under like 0.9, then you're in a really, really good spot. If you're anywhere around 1 and anywhere above 1, okay, now you're in trouble. You better score some points. So I mean, we're very analytical. We track defensive stuff from every single game, from, you know, just different terminology that we use, from guarding the ball, from boxing out to closeouts to just being in our help side. Like we track all of that in a chart, and then we keep track of, from PvP, it's basically like who gives up the points. So, you know, if you score a layup on me, did anyone else do anything, or am I the one that gave the layup up? So then we divvy those points out and we see, okay, well, these are who's responsible for those points, because, you know, you need to know who's getting scored on, who's actually playing defense. You know, one guy might look like he's playing defense, but then you go and you're like, dang, this guy got 15 points scored on in this game, or he's attributed for 15 points. So then we kind of track that, and we'll, you know, let's say you have 1 point part possession in the entire game. Well, there's 5 guys out there. So now your individual goal should be 0.20, because, you know, if 5 guys all get 0.20, now your total BPP is 1. So now it's okay, who had under a 0.20, who had above a 0.20, where are we at with that? And now you can see, okay, well, this guy really played really good defense. Like I think from the Illinois Springfield game, I think our if I remember correctly, it was like 0.22 or 0.23. So it's like, okay, who had 0.22, 2 and 3, who had over and under? So now it's like, all right, this guy was really good on defense this game, this guy. And then I've been taking it to another extreme of tracking lineups. So I'll track lineup, how many possessions does each lineup have, and then what was their PPP through their lineup, because, you know, sometimes you don't see things, and especially in the year where we're at, or if people have been following it, like we've changed starting lineups like a lot of games. I don't know the number off the top of my head. I would probably say like upwards of 70% of our games we kind of change the starting lineup. Again, we're trying to test new things and figure things out, and just figure out, okay, what's the best. And sometimes it's matchup based as well. Like this last game on Saturday, they had a big, but they were super small 1 through 4. So we were like, all right, we got to kind of cater down to that and kind of match up accordingly. But yeah, analytics is massive. Mostly defensive, some offensive stuff. But again, we're defensive focused, so try to track as much defensive analytics as possibly can.
And talk about your team itself a little bit. I made this joke with Worley, you know, when he was first introduced, and there were like, I think 6 guys that he had rostered at that point in time. Like, Coach, I got eligibility. I don't know if you're gonna need me, man. You know, talk about just having been here. You mentioned you just got to Missouri in August, correct? Just kind of how that journey's been. You know, you are just as new to this program as a lot of the rostered players, and just how the you know, Brown said this the other day after Thursday's game, is it looks like a more cohesive unit, and it's just, how would it not? You know, you've had such a limited time together.
Yeah. It's definitely, it takes time, you know, and even I think we had, off the top of my head, I think we had 6 returners. But then if you go and you look at the returners that we had, one of them played significant minutes last year, you know. And then even then he got hurt at some point in the year. He was actually hurt leading into our preseason and offseason. Like he didn't even get healthy till like closer to September, middle of September. I think like he had, if I remember looking at it when I looked at it in October, he had more minutes than all other 5 returners combined. So, you know, not only is it, you have a bunch of new people and transfers and freshmen, you also have new returners because they haven't even played that much. Now you have a new coaching staff. So everything is, you know, everything's new. And the 3 of us knew going in, like, you know, it's going to take more time than normal just because it's a new coaching staff, it's a new team. And then the team's different. You know, the team is a lot of guys. Even if you look at the guys we brought in, like a lot of them are just, you know, they haven't played that amount of time that, you know, we would have preferred, you know, if we looked at it. Like, I mean, I think Jakai was one of the only ones that actually started like almost every game from like the transfers we brought in. So we knew, like, you know, these guys are playing at high level, but like that matters on the bat, like experience matters for like early play. But now they're all figuring it out. We got way more cohesiveness now. Had a couple guys bow out because they just couldn't handle what we were doing. And, sometimes the fire gets too hot and they want to take the easy way out, so to say. But that alone makes you more cohesive when some guys bow out. Now they're like, wow, what we're doing actually is hard, and doing hard things is good for you. So it helped work out. But now, I think we're getting there. It's still a day by day process. But again, some guys have only known each other for 2 months, 3 months, and even then, you only spend X amount of time with each other. Everybody's in class, everybody's doing all stuff like that. So we only got a couple hours a day to be able to spend with each other. The road trips are really good because that's when we spend like all the time with each other. I feel like we grow all the time on the road. So, but it's just trying to figure out, all right, who plays well together, who likes each other, who can move the ball with each other, and then who doesn't. Okay, now what can we do to kind of fix that, stuff like that. So it's just like a growing like cohesiveness every single day, which is like one of the things that like people don't really think about. But in the transfer portal age, when basic guys are making full rosters like every single year, that is one of the hardest parts, is trying to mix together guys. But they've done a really good job. Like I said, if you look at the season and like a lot of the games, we just kind of gave up like a 5 to 6 minute stretch of just bad basketball, and that's why we ended up losing. We played like 34 great minutes of basketball. I think we've shot ourselves in the foot like on at least 5 games where we just turned the ball over way too much, couldn't rebound. Those two things should be almost every single time.
Like talking about having a brand new group of guys who've never played together, one thing that I thought was really cool is like you guys, and different lineups and different arrangements and stuff like that. Emmanuel Bird in a position where you guys felt like it would be best for him to come off the bench. Couldn't have been any less upset about it. Like, these guys seem like they're really starting to come together and accept their roles and appreciate their roles. And how important is that for you three?
It's big. You never want to, you don't want to rub a guy wrong to where now he won't do the things that you want him to do. And, we just felt like, maybe the effort wasn't there. Maybe the list, like whatever it was that we felt like, needed to be better. We were like, all right, well, Q's been really solid. Let's slot him in. And we said to Bird, like, hey, like, this is what it's going to be. Play hard, do what you're supposed to do. And, no minutes are promised. So you just get in, and whoever performs better is going to be the one that plays. And Q had a couple bad calls, and then he had a couple calls that were fouls, which then just led for Bird to just have to have more of the minutes because the way that game went, advantage, and he took full advantage of it. And guys never want to tell you, hey, like, I'm cool. I don't think there's a single player ever in the country that's ever like, yeah, I want to come off the bench. Like, I'm sure that there's people that, they might say out loud, yeah, cool, I'll cut off the bench. But, you kind of sometimes have a different edge about you when, I've started like almost every game this year, and now I'm not starting. Okay, well, now my focus and my preparation and my effort is going to be way different. So now it's all right. Well, now the question is, why can't you have that every day? But I thought that they both came in really, really well for us in that game. There was a time in the game where guards weren't really able to put the ball in the basket, and then the bigs just were able to just get down low and make a move. I think Bird and Q probably had, I don't know, off the top of my head, they probably had 15 or 17 points like in the paint, which is big for us. We want to have as many points in the paint as we possibly can. So that was good.
Combined for in the neighborhood of 25 boards or something like that.
I think Bird had like 11 or 10, and then Q had 5, I think. So then Bird had like 12, 13, something like that. It probably had close to 20 boards. And then I think Q had 9, and then Bird had 13. So they were like 22 and 18, which for your two bigs, they had almost a third of our points, basically. I think that is actually, if they had 22, that's literally a third of our total points. But again, that's just a big piece of what we do, because like offensive, analytically, like we were talking about this space coaches, like, your certain style of shots that you take are different, like ratings of offensive PPP. And one of the highest offensive rated PPP is like post, obviously, because you're right there, you're right there at the goal. So we were like, when we can get good, clean looks, and we felt like, we had a lot of good, clean looks in the McKendree game, but they just didn't fall. And we thought that it was a little, too less assertive in a way. Like, we weren't going through people, we were trying to avoid people. So we made an emphasis for Springville, like, hey, we're going to be tougher. We're going to go through them, finish at the rim. If you get a call, you get a call. If not, like, don't fade away. Don't do any of this. So, and they came in and they played really well. Tell you what, Javion Myers actually too, he started that game, and that was big too. Again, you never, for us, especially guys that learn now, you never know when your name's going to get called, like who knows who's going to go on Thursday. It's sometimes it's matchup based, sometimes it's practice based, sometimes we just want to look at something different. So when it's your time to get called, Javion, I thought, had a great game. I thought he had a good game against McKendree as well. I think he had like 7 assists to 0 turnovers in that game. So it's like, it's good to know that whenever guys are like called to battle, so to say,
ready to be there.
Yeah, they're able to be there and perform.
And, in a situation like you guys find yourself in, and I am certain that there are a lot of other Division II schools in the nation that are kind of working with the same type of roster that Truman is. Just a lot of dudes who haven't spent a lot of time with each other and things like that, but just being able to roll it out there and roll different lineups out there. I mean, to me, I would say that Paranello has come a long way as your primary ball handler, as a leader, and as a guy who can kind of keep this unit cohesive.
He's getting there. He's making strides. It's unfortunate because one of the guys that ended up leaving us was the backup point guard. So we kind of are in a bind where, Julian's really an off-ball scorer. You saw that in the last game actually, to be honest, the best game was the Kendrick game where he had 20, and it was just basically all off-ball scoring. And Javion's the same way. Javion's an off-ball scorer, and neither of them have ever played point guard in college level. I don't even think either of them played point guard at a high school level. So now we have Kai, who mainly is a point guard. It's played point guard the whole entire life, but Kai can't play 40 minutes a game. And the way we play, it's like we only really want more than 30 minutes a game, just we play so intensive on the defensive end, and then we try to push pace on the offensive end. So it's like, all right, well, now we got to figure out, okay, well, who's going to be the one between Javion and Julian? And we've toyed with both back and forth throughout the whole season. And, we've been going recently with Julian, just kind of give Javion more off-ball looks, and we felt like Julian, with his playing experience, he could just kind of handle it a little bit better. But again, both of them are solid in that backup spot. But yeah, it definitely is. I think that the puzzle piece that kind of binds all of it together, though, is Drew Kingery. Like, he is really like the focal leader that is quiet on the court, but then off the court, he's the one that's kind of pulling people together. Obviously, Chicago is the point guard. He's gonna be a point guard, and that's a point guard's job, is to lead. But in terms of like totality between like the old groups, the thing is like you got the returners, and you got the new guys, and you got the freshmen. So it's kind of like 3 different like groups of people. But Drew and Javion especially, they do a really good job of kind of like pulling all of them together and kind of like making it like super cohesive. And Drew's just solid. Like, he's just going to go out there and play hard for how many minutes he's played. That's the one thing Drew's going to do no matter what. So it's definitely getting there. It's a work in progress.
I mean, it seems like you are certainly encouraged with how things have come along so far, and a crucial win at home always helps that. Before I let you go and let you get out of here, talk a little bit who you got coming up. What are some games to mark on your calendar? What do you have looking ahead?
So we got Lewis on Thursday away, and then we got Upper Iowa on Saturday, and then we come back and we play Quincy at home on the following Thursday, and then we have our bye week. And then the following week we come back and we have Wood and Jewel and Rockhurst. So it's just there. I'm definitely proud of the guys. I enjoy, seeing the strides that they're making. But I mean, I think it was Burr. He came up to me the day of practice, and I'm just straight faced. I probably look like I pissed off, just mad. Look, he comes up to me. He's like, gives me a, high five, handshake, and he's like, I can't get like a smile or anything like that. And I just looked at him. I was like, we're 6-9. Like, there's nothing like. I said, I'll give you a smile whenever we have a winning record. Like, I'm still just strictly business. So that Lewis game will be good. The Upper Iowa game on Saturday, that's going to be a test. I mean, again, when you beat the number 1 team in the conference, now someone else is going to be the number 1. And they actually just, the polls came out, they just got ranked as well. So now they're top 25 in the country. So that game, that'll be a tough one. We got to be like, again, we got to do the small things. Those small things will add up, and that'll either get us a W or end up with a loss. And then Quincy, I mean, that's a rival game, so that'll be fun. And then we kind of get a little bit of a break, and then we're right back at 2 more games. So as soon as you hit conference, it's just like week by week by week, and you can't. The good thing is like we're not plateauing. we're kind of slowly climbing up that to that peak, which we have peak yet. You never want to peak in January or February. We'll always peak at the end of the year. So hopefully we can continue to make strides and they can continue to buy into what we're doing and work on it every day and continue to push up to that top 8 and get us a chance to play in the postseason and see what we can do. I mean, we just feel like now we can beat anyone in the conference. I mean, we have 2 massive wins with Missouri Western and Springfield. So it's just, trying to take it day by day and see what we can do.
Very good, man. Cory Sloan, welcome to the program.
Appreciate it.
We appreciate it a lot. Truman State University men's assistant basketball coach Cory Sloan joining us. Thank you guys very much for joining us this evening. This has been Raining Cats and Dogs. We appreciate it greatly. We will be back on our regular every Monday schedule on this 2026 end of being over the holiday break. I hope everybody listening had a fantastic and festive holiday season. I'm Henry Jansen, Kirksville Daily Express sports writer. Thank you again for joining us.